Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're jumping back into Flashpoint Beyond with Flashpoint Beyond issue 1. And with us getting into this, I do also want to share some of my thoughts as far as this story and how it's connecting to some things that's going on in DC, but not others. But I'll save that towards the end when it makes a bit more sense. But if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping back in, we pick back up at the Wayne Manor within the Flashpoint universe. And it's here where we have Thomas Wayne listening to the news again, which is just all bad in this world and is only getting worse. Because it's here where we get a broadcast from Linda Park, who on Prime Earth we know as the wife of Wally West. But it's here in the Flashpoint universe where this Linda's reporting that the battle for Britain was lost and the world's heroes had failed to stop the war between Atlantis and the Amazons, which has resulted in the Atlanteans refortifying Themyscira and executing Amazons daily, which was then followed by an announcement by Aquaman telling the surface world to retreat from its oceans, turn over nuclear weapons, and recognize his total authority, or otherwise drown, beginning with Britain. And with doing so, Aquaman had pretty much just given the whole world 12 hours to comply. And in response, the White House was just like, we will not negotiate with terrorists. Which at this point, I gotta say, I'm no expert on the topic, but the US need to strike a deal in this situation. But from here with Thomas Wayne, we see him going through a bit of his history, with him thinking about how 20 years ago, Joe Chill killed his 10-year-old son Bruce, which led to Thomas hunting down Joe Chill and killing him. But like we know for Thomas Wayne, that wasn't enough, and that's why he became the Batman in order to hunt down everyone in Gotham who reminded him of Joe Chill in order to kill them too. And with Thomas thinking this over, he mentions that he's killed a lot of people, a lot of bad people, and moving forward, he's definitely gonna kill some more. But then it's from here to where he thinks back on Barry Allen, and in the moment where Barry had initially showed up, and he told Thomas that his world wasn't supposed to exist, with him also letting Thomas know that it was supposed to be him and Martha who were shot in Crime Alley. But it's also with the way that we get Thomas thinking back on this and acknowledging that his son Bruce was supposed to be the one who survived so that he would grow up and become the Batman, much like the one that Thomas had met from Prime Earth, who instead of like Thomas, who in his case he was looking for a way to punish the world, but instead with Bruce, had he grown up to be Batman, he would have been looking for a way to protect the world so that others wouldn't suffer loss like he did. And I like the way that this is done, with us seeing the thoughts of Thomas Wayne, because he comments on the Bruce of Prime Earth and his method of protection rather than punishment. And Thomas calls it admirable, but yet he also calls it a child's dream, which is something I felt like we've said a number of times over here. But I really like that Jeff Johns is bringing this up by way of Thomas while he's here sharing a meal with Dexter Dent, the son of Judge Dent, who we'd seen Thomas save in issue 0. Because for Dexter, with him watching his father die and his mother being in Arkham Asylum at the moment, and it almost makes it seem like the thoughts of Thomas Wayne could be foreshadowing a path that Dexter may take, and we may see over the course of time whether Dexter will want to punish or protect the world. But then it's here while they're eating when Oswald Cobblepot arrives, who once again in this reality works for Thomas Wayne. And when Cobblepot gets there, he's talking from the door, he just like, man, can you believe our luck? Man, the murder charges got dropped because Harvey Dent, the kid's here. And it's here where Thomas lets Cobblepot know that he wants him to watch Dexter, because at this time there's no one else that Thomas could really trust, and he tells Cobblepot that the kid's a witness he may prove useful. And from here, Thomas pretty much tells Dexter to hang tight with Cobblepot because he'll be back soon. But it's funny seeing him here with Dexter, because right away he's trying to make up for what he said in front of the kid, telling Dexter your father was a good man, my condolences. But then there's this awkward moment of silence, because Dexter just looks at him, he says nothing, and Oswald just like, man, kid's a real talker. But from here he tells Dexter to hang tight for a moment, and he lets Thomas know hey, when you called me over to help, I didn't know it was gonna be babysitting. And he's like, I don't even know what to feed this thing. And on top of that, Cobblepot also makes a very logical recommendation, shouldn't this kid be with a professional after what happened to his dad, his mom, his sister? But of course, as you guys know, this is a Batman comic, we don't do that here. But as Thomas makes his way to the Batcave, Cobblepot points out that the clock is 11 minutes slow, and Thomas just responds by saying it's broken. But this 11-minute thing is something that we'll notice is happening on a much larger scale. But as Thomas makes his way down to the Batcave, and Cobblepot asks him where is he going? To where then Thomas just responds that he's going fishing. And when Thomas said that, I couldn't help but hear Bing Crosby and Louis Armstrong just singing Gone Fishing on top of that. But then it's here where Dexter just scares the mess out of Cobblepot, and he just tells the kid, man, don't be sneaking up on people like that with your dead eyes, man, you creep me out. But then it's here where he asks the kid, okay, what do you want to do? And Dexter responds, I want to learn how to shoot a gun. And from there, Cobblepot's just like, what kind? Because that's one thing I guess he can teach the kid. Never mind the red flags flying around Dexter this whole time though. But as we follow Thomas into the cave, he's thinking over the possibilities of what may have changed this universe back to what it was by going back in time and saving Barry's mother again. And with Thomas thinking this over, he's like, okay, it would have been Barry again. And initially he had thought it to be the Reverse Flash, but that suggestion isn't totally adding up either. Because with the Flashpoint universe being reset, it's very possible that Eobard Thawne could still be alive. But if it was Thawne behind this, why wouldn't he just seek revenge on Thomas Wayne right from the beginning? And on top of that, why would Thawne send an assassin from Atlantis to kill Barry Allen when he could just do it himself? And while Thomas is here, he hears the news broadcast, starting with Director Waller, who's doing a draft for every metahuman convict across the country, which is likely a response to the shortage of superheroes like we'd seen in issue 0, with a number of those heroes disappearing. But with Waller calling for these convicts to enter this draft, she also mentions that they're going to be mind controlled by the son of Saturn. And though it's a risky move, she then states, desperate times call for desperate measures. But also along with this news, Oliver Queen is announced deceased, and there's multiple sightings of Poison Ivy still alive, even though she was thought to have been killed by the Batman. But from here, Thomas Wayne readies up to make his way to confront Aquaman so that he can either get the answers he needs, or if Aquaman doesn't comply, then Thomas will just gut him like a fish. But then it's from here where we take a look around the world with 3 hours remaining from the countdown that Aquaman had given during his announcement, and through the course of this it goes from 3 hours down to 1 hour. But we find out that during this time, Amanda Waller's attempt to expand Task Force X had been interrupted by Senator Thomas White, who had taken the Senate hostage with the human bomb. And also David Knight, the former Starman, he's picked up a signal from deep space and he put out a warning that something is coming. But also it's here we find out about a bizarre event in Keystone City, to where every clock has fallen behind 11 minutes, almost as if the entire city slid out of sync with the rest of time, which possibly could be the same case for any other location that is slid back 11 minutes. But at this point we still don't know the cause of this bizarre phenomenon. And at this time there's continued to be sightings of the Superman, and you have some people who are hoping that he intervenes and stops Aquaman, but then you have others who are kind of thinking that Superman's glad that this is happening, as if he's hoping that Aquaman would just lay the world to waste so that that'll make it easier for the Kryptonian invasion that's coming. But at this time even still, no one knows where the Superman stands. But in addition to this, you have random blizzards on the west coast, from Seattle all the way to South Los Angeles. The FDA is getting ready to approve Miraclo for public use, and I can't wait to see that because that should be interesting. Because it might turn out to be one of those things where you just have a bunch of people who get powers for 1 hour like Hour Man, or this could spark the uprising of other characters in the Flashpoint universe, similar to what we'd seen in the Joker series when we learned about the connection to the Miracle formula and Santa Prisca. But we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out here. But also at this time you have nuclear weapons pointed at Parliament, which is currently where Aquaman and his council sit, with 1 hour left on the time frame that Aquaman had given the world. And at this point, as far as public knowledge, the status of Wonder Woman is unknown, though it's pretty clear at this moment that the Amazonians were defeated. But at this time we find that Aquaman has sentenced Diana to her death, with her being restrained by her own lasso so she can't get out, and the room filling with water with the intention of drowning her. But with Aquaman setting this up, he gave the order that she drowns alone. But with this happening, a couple of soldiers went in there, and right away you see where this is going. Because one of them was like, we shouldn't be here. But the other one's like, no, this land witch killed my father, my brother, and my sister. So he gets in real close in an attempt to torture her, and she bites off one of the tentacles from his face. And the other soldiers is like, man, I told you we shouldn't have been in here. But from here, it only gets worse for these guys, because then there's like a bat silhouette under the water, which of course is none other than Thomas Wayne, who emerges from the water and takes both of these guys out. And initially with Diana seeing this, she had thought that the Batman was dead. But I love when Thomas gets here, he just cuts straight to the chase, and he's like, yeah, I thought I was dead too. But when Diana, she assumes the next step is like to let her free, and Thomas is like, nah, that ain't why I'm here, I just need your magic lasso. Like, nah, I ain't here to save you, what you think this is? But with Diana being constrained by her own lasso, she is compelled to tell the truth, and she tells him if he tries to take it from her, she'll kill him. And it's here for Thomas where he realizes like, okay, yeah, that's obvious, but if he leaves her here with the lasso, she's just gonna drown. So given the situation, he cuts her a deal, and he lets Diana know that he needs to use the lasso on Aquaman so he can get some answers out of him and make sure that he's not capping. And when Diana hears this, she's like, well, okay, but what's in it for me? And Thomas is like, what? You get to live. Like, did you not understand the part where if I leave you here, you drown? But he also lets her know that with her being free, she can go back to Themyscira and she can save what's left of her sisters who haven't been executed yet. And with hearing this, Diana's like, okay, and then what? Just fall back to Themyscira and just forget about the war against the rest of the world? But he just tells her like, no, you can do whatever you want. Because at this point, he can care less what happens to the rest of the world. And with that said, Thomas asks her, do we have a deal? And it's from here we go over to Aquaman, just minutes before the 12th hour, where Thomas wastes no time to get that lasso around his neck. And the first thing that he asked him was about the assassin sent to kill Barry Allen. Why did Aquaman do it, and who asked Aquaman to do it? But before Aquaman answers, he tosses Thomas across the room. And when I saw this, I was like, oh man, Thomas, you should have led with the lasso compels you speech. And I mean, I'm just playing, he didn't have to say that. But with the lasso still being tied around Aquaman's neck, Thomas asks again, saying no one can resist the lasso. Answer me, you sent the scavenger to Gotham to kill Barry Allen. Why? And it's here where compelled Aquaman tells him that whoever sent the scavenger, it wasn't me. And as soon as Thomas hears this, he gets a call from Oswald Cobblepot saying that there was a bombing at the casino. And it's right then when Thomas realizes that someone wanted him to believe that it was Aquaman in order to get him out of Gotham, and he absolutely fell for it. And at this point, with the clock striking the 12th hour, Aquaman approaches the ocean orb, telling Thomas that he's a fool for releasing Wonder Woman, because leave it to her, she'll burn this world to the ground. And Aquaman expresses that most likely at this time, Wonder Woman has made her way to wage war with the Atlanteans to free the rest of her soldiers. But to Aquaman, that won't even matter, because as soon as he touches his trident to the ocean orb, he'll sink the entire island and kill them all. But as soon as he looks to see where his trident is, it's gone, only for him to then find it in his back. To where then Diana tells Aquaman, your reign is over, Emperor, and so is man's. To only then tell Aquaman with tears in her eyes that she loved him. But with Aquaman's dying breath, he tells her he only loved Mira, who of course Diana also killed. But from here, Diana tells Thomas like the deal's done, unless he's changed his mind and he wants to try and stop her. But Thomas is pretty much like, nope, I got what I need. And from there, Diana's more or less like, okay, well then tell your world I'll be coming for them. But then again, Thomas is more or less just like, yeah, well, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Which, like we seen before in issue 0, that's how he feels about this whole universe. But from this point moving forward, news spreads about Aquaman's death, as well as Wonder Woman and the Amazons reclaiming Britain and announcing their advancement into what's left of Europe. Which for Thomas Wayne, this put him in the situation of going back to Gotham with more questions than what he had when he initially left. But from here, when he gets back to Wayne Manor, he finds Cobblepot giving Dexter shooting lessons. And to little surprise, Thomas Wayne sees no problem with this. And once again, I can't help but think that we're watching the makings of a Flashpoint Robin here. And that's best case scenario. But it's here where Thomas asks Oswald to step in the next room so he can have a word with him as far as the bombing at the casino. And mind you, while they're having this conversation, Dexter's still in the other room practicing by himself. But with Oswald asking Thomas, what does he think about the bombing at the casino and that they really should get down there? And Thomas lets him know that they'll check the cameras. But Oswald's like, no, they were disabled. But even still, he's hoping that Thomas can find something because they lost a lot of good people in that explosion. And hopefully Thomas can find some kind of evidence so they can track down who did this. And he asks Thomas, whoever did this, you're gonna make them pay, right? With their lives. And Thomas just responds like, don't I always? To where then Oswald remembers he left this kid in the next room with a gun. And as soon as he turns around, Thomas is gone. He's disappeared. Cause that's how Batman move. But it's from here where we now go over to Bruce on Prime Earth, who at this point is being visited by Barry Allen. And with this happening, I just want to say that for the sake of this story, and only with the exception of Thomas Wayne's entry into the Flashpoint universe, but for the sake of this story, everything we see outside of the Flashpoint universe, we have little reference as far as when this is happening. Because currently, as far as the heroes on Prime Earth, and with me saying this, it also is a bit of a spoiler alert for what's going on in Justice League, because over there in the recent issues of Justice League, everybody's dead. Everybody's dead, like with the exception of Black Adam, Jonathan Kent, and a few others. Barry Allen is trapped, Wally West is still around. But through the course of us talking Flashpoint Beyond, anytime that we jump out of the Flashpoint universe and talk about Bruce, just know that we haven't been told yet as far as when this point in time is, outside of the fact that this is definitely after the button. So just keep that in mind as we continue our talks on Flashpoint Beyond, because I got a feeling that Jeff Johns ain't really feeling the crisis that's going on right now. So when we see Prime Earth here, just take it for what it is and just roll with it for this story. Because I also got a feeling that when this lands and we find out what Bruce has up his sleeve, that Jeff Johns is going to put the ending of this story where he wants it to be. And for the time being, we'll just have to wait and see where that is. But at this point, with Barry Allen coming to see Bruce Wayne, man, I feel like I had to say a lot just to say that. But with Barry showing up here, he's in a panic because he knows the Eobard Thawne is back, and recently Thawne had tried to tap into the Speed Force, but it spit him out. And this is why right away Barry came to check on Bruce, because we know what happened last time. And man, it was an epic moment for us. But not so much for Bruce, because in DC Rebirth, Batman issue 21, which was part 1 of the button, when Barry said, "Bruce, I'll see you in a minute," Thawne ran up in the Batcave and he beat the brakes off of Bruce, and it was probably the longest minute of Bruce's life. And it's here we find that Bruce is telling Barry that not only is he okay, but he's also set up contingencies for Thawne or any unrecognized speedster who would try to pop up on him, because he has absolute zero guns set up all over the cave that are modeled after Captain Cold's technology. But Barry takes a look around the Batcave anyway, and Bruce offers to help, but Barry lets him know that he's getting ready to meet up with Jay, and if it's too much for them, then Barry will call the League and Jay will call the Society. But just after this, Barry leaves. And again, we see Corky Baxter coming to warn Bruce, telling him that the Flashes will find out what he's doing. And even though Corky and the Time Masters might not be able to stop Bruce, he lets Bruce know that the Flashes will. And in addition to that, Corky then goes on to tell Bruce that it's not too late to undo this. And with saying that, Bruce just tells Corky, yes it is, because whatever Bruce has had planned, it's already in motion. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons and some new patrons that we have for the month: C. James T, Toph W, Dion, and Brian A. Thanks to every one of you for all of your support, and for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.